Last time out, Buddy Simpson took part in his third Formula 1 race. It went fantastically.
He doesn't get away immediately, and he's been hit behind. Into turn 3, he has the inside, and that's going to allow Alonso through on Hulkenberg. Hitting at that time was the exact perfect call, and you can see Valtteri is really struggling. He just gets the drive, and we are able to and Bottas gets the drive, but there's contact, and Bottas goes into the wall. Round the final corner, onto the pit straight. A fantastic drive from Buddy Simpson. He takes 7th place, and he was delighted.
But things weren't all plain sailing. Before the race, you may remember this.
Hey buddy, I've got some good news. I have just booked you for a test at Andretti Autosport at Iowa. You'll be driving one of their IndyCars this Saturday.
Yay! It turned out that the test clashed with qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix, and when he got back, things got a little bit complicated.
Why weren't you in Iowa?
My private jet failed.
Interesting. I Google your name and I find this. What is this? Explain to me what you're doing in this photo.
This is from a test session before you made me decline the contract.
I don't believe you. Why would it be the first picture to come up on here?
Really? I swear to God, it is from a test session. Look, I'm not wearing the Haas top.
Really? Are you serious?
Yes, I am serious.
Promise?
Promise. Simpson doesn't belong in Formula 1, right?
Yes, that's the spirit, buddy. You know, I was talking with Andretti, and if this test goes well, you could be in the Indy 500. The car's waiting for you. Let's go!
Yay! Dad?
What?
Out of interest, why do you hate Formula 1 so much? You clearly have something more against it than just, it's for technical obsessed saddos.
And why does it matter to you?
I want to know.
It's a secret.
Okay.
Well done. You did some good lap times there. You could be in the Indy 500, the team was telling me. Good work.
So, as could be clearly heard there, he did not enjoy his test of the IndyCar. But now it's time for him to go to a series he does enjoy, as it's time for the Russian Grand Prix, set at the spectacular Sochi Autodrome. Well, what's up guys, it is Maxi Gaming HD here, back with the next episode of the Buddy Simpson career mode, where after a good race in Shanghai, Buddy was desperate to continue that form going into Sochi. In practice it was all uneventful, so without further ado, let's go into the qualifying report. The sun was out on the Sochi Autodrome as qualifying for the Russian Grand Prix was about to get underway. It was a dismal qualifying for Renault as both cars failed to make Q2, with Palmer getting sent to the back of the grid. NASA had a reasonable qualifying whilst Ericsson qualified on the back row. It was a decent qualifying for Manor as Verline qualified in 18th whilst Arianto qualified 20th. Jenson Button had a dismal qualifying session as he qualified in 19th. A huge error of judgment meant Buddy Simpson didn't make Q2. Force India were disappointed to get neither car into Q3 for the first time this season. Toro Rosso endured a fantastic qualifying as both cars made Q3. It was an average session for Williams as they qualified in 7th and 9th. Vettel made the front row, Ross Raikkonen qualified in 5th. The two Mercedes were baffled with why they only managed 3rd and 4th. Whilst it was Max Verstappen who took pole position, becoming the youngest ever pole sitter in Formula 1 history. So, taking a look at the grid then, it's Verstappen on pole ahead of Vettel with the two Mercedes making up the second row. In 5th on the grid, it's Ricciardo ahead of Raikkonen and Bottas. Kvyat qualified well at his home race ahead of Massa and Sainz. Grosjean qualified on 11th ahead of Hulkenberg, Alonso and Perez, rounding off a disappointing qualifying for Force India. Nasser was pleased as 15th ahead of Buddy Simpson, who had a huge error of judgment. Magnussen qualified 17th ahead of Verline, Button, Haryanto, Ericsson, whilst Palmer ramped up the grid.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. Built on the shores of the Black Sea, the Sochi Autodrome is a 3.6-mile tour around some of the venues built for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Close barriers may make overtakes more challenging, but with 56% of the lap taken absolutely flat out, we certainly won't be wanting for pure speed. A fitting arena then to do battle at the pinnacle of motorsport. And alongside me to take you through it all is none other than Anthony Davidson. This was a circuit that I think in its inaugural race got off to a bit of a shaky start, but since then it's really drawn the fans in and become a very popular event. What do you think changed?
Well, this just goes to show the importance of fixing problems as and when you discover them. As a complete unknown quantity in 2014, the tyre choice was quite conservative, which didn't really allow much in terms of different strategy options. So it was pretty much as you were from lights to flag. But that was a great learning experience, and we came back the next year and had a really exciting Grand Prix, with battles for the podium going on all the way to the final lap. So hopefully we'll be treated to more of the same this year.
So, there is Buddy Simpson in his Haas on the grid for his 4th Formula 1 start. So, now on the grid, starting on these super soft tyres. As you can see, the formation lap is about to get underway. He's just testing out some of the gears so he can get a good launch off the line. But it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, after that misjudgment in qualifying, which has put him to the back of the grid, where he thought that his lap time was good enough, but it turns out it wasn't, and he got displaced. As you can see, he's weaving to get some heat into the tyres. As you can see, now heading towards the end of the formation lap now, as they're about to line up on the grid, and his team principal had some words of wisdom for him.
Okay, buddy. Qualifying may not have gone well, but with a good race, we can get some points.
So, Buddy Simpson lines up on the grid, ready for the Russian Grand Prix here in Sochi. So, here we go. We have the lights in Sochi. Lights out and away we go. And we get a decent launch off the line. Gets alongside Perez and Nasser. Now heading into turn 1. There's a slight bit of contact and we did have to back off there. And that has allowed both the Manners and Button through. Really had to back off there to avoid a collision. Now going around the outside of all that lot of cars. We managed to get around the outside of quite a few cars. And there's a bit of a squeeze ahead which we have to back off for. And that is going to allow Jolly and Palmer back through. As you can see, Nasser and Verline battling it out on the run up towards turn 4. And we have to slot in behind the Renault of Jolly and Palmer. But now we get down the inside and almost managed to get down the inside of the Manor of Pascal Verline. As you can see, we're still side by side heading into this right-hander. And this is great side-by-side action between us and the Renault. He's still alongside, as you can see in the mirrors. We have to run a little bit wide, but we have taken the position from the Renault. So now heading down the straight, as you can see, the Renault is right behind us. And this is a very tricky braking zone going into, I believe it's turn 11. But we're going to dive it up the inside of Verline. We missed our braking there, but we are able to get through into 16th place. And as you can see, Buddy's got Nazar, and he's almost able to get down the inside of Fernando Alonso as well. So, Buddy really making the moves here. Now, as you can see, Alonso and the two Toro Rossos of Danny Kvyat in his home race and Carlos Sainz are battling it out ahead. But now heading into the long left-hander of turn 3, we're right behind Alonso. Could we send one up the inside going into turn 4? We think better of it. But we're in the slipstream of the McLaren, and we're going to get down the inside into turn 5. And is it going to stick? Yes, it is. So, Buddy Simpson really making up the positions here. Now, as you can see, he's behind Danny Kvyat, who he's able to dive down the inside of, heading into turn 11, I believe it is. And he is through into 12th place. Now, as you can see, he is behind the other Toro Rosso of Carlos Sainz, and he gets down the inside, and he is really making those moves, this Buddy Simpson, to the delight of his team.
Okay, buddy, this is truly awesome. Keep this going.
After that, however, he did struggle a little bit to make progress, and he was being hounded by the Toro Rosso and the McLaren as his tyres were starting to go off. Now, as you can see, he's behind the two Force Indias of Perez and Hulkenberg, who are battling it out, and he's going to have a look down the inside into turn 3. That would be brave. But now heading up towards turn 4, he gets much better closing speed, almost hits the back of the Force India, but he's through into 10th place. But once again, we were struggling to keep the Force India at bay, but we were just about managing. As you can see, he had to really defend there going into turn 2. A few laps later, he's having to defend again, and he overshoots his braking point going into turn 2, and he lets Hulkenberg and Hamilton, who just pitted, through. The plan was to go to around lap 20 so we could go to the end on a one-stop. But then Daniel Ricciardo's engine fails, which brings out the safety car. And that was really going to make this race interesting. And we are going to pit for tyres. As you can see, it forced us to slow down to concede position. But obviously under a safety car, we decided that now was the time to pit in, as did quite a few others. You can see there are a couple of other teams in the pit lane. Of course, we're right at the end of the pits. And we changed to a set of the soft tyre, which, with the safety car slow laps, should take us to the end of the race. And he exits the pits in 13th place. So, that's a strategy that has worked for him. Now moving on to later in the lap, there's Bottas ahead. As you can see, he's going very slowly and he's weaving around. And we hit the back of him. And we've lost part of our wing. I mean, you could say that Buddy could have done a bit more to try to avoid him. Maybe he hit the back of him, so it was him to blame. But I don't think so. Valtteri Bottas was just running so slowly on the racing line, and he braked unexpectedly going into the corner, and Buddy was not happy about it.
Oh, come on, you can't do that. I was just trying to catch up to him, and then all of a sudden he braked at the corner. I could do absolutely nothing.
Okay, how does the car feel?
I'm understeering all over the place.
Okay, stay out. Stay out.
So now moving on to lap 16. As you can see, the safety car is in at the end of this lap, currently in 13th place. So it's time for the restart. You've got Rio Haryanto right behind, but as you might be able to see, he is now starting to really struggle behind Valtteri Bottas. The team thought that maybe it was just when he was weaving, but it seems he is understeering a lot more than that. As you can see, he's got the manner of Rio Haryanto on older tyres right behind, and that really shows how he is lacking in pace. Now heading into turn 3, and this is where he's going to feel the damage most. And there's a yellow flag as Perez loses traction and completely takes out Felipe Massa. And surprisingly, and unfortunately, this did not result in a safety car. And you can see Haryanto completely drops past, and Carlos Sainz gets around the outside. Buddy goes off the track and gets through, and now he has to hand the position back, unsurprisingly, and he lets a whole bunch of cars through. It's all not gone well for Buddy Simpson.
Okay, I think we need to box. I'm being passed by a Manor and a Sauber. This is not acceptable.
Despite that, he does get back past the manner of Haryanto, heading up towards the corner at the end of the second DRS straight. He did wait a few laps. The team took their time over it. But once he was owned, kind of, by Haryanto, Button and Kvyat almost down the second DRS straight, in inverted commas, it's not really a straight, he decided that he had absolutely no choice but to pit for another set of tyres. And as he didn't have a set of these soft tyres left, he had to go to the mediums, and this was going to completely wreck his race. So that whole incident with Valtteri Bottas and the decision not to pit under the safety car when he had that damage has completely ruined his race, and he is going to drop to the rear of the field. So he exits the pits at the back of the field, but he's got to do the rest of the race on the medium tyre, which is going to be a hard task. So now heading down the pit straight, and Jolyon Palmer is exiting the pits ahead. Obviously we're going to have more momentum heading up towards turn 2, and we get a fantastic exit. Obviously he's on cold tyres, and we're going to get down the inside into turn 3, or are we? It'll be a brave move if we manage it, but eventually he has to yield, and we're through. So a good move there from Buddy, but he struggled to get away, because once he got to grips with his soft tyres, he stuck to the back of us like glue, and he eventually managed to get past going into turn 2, and we could not stay with him. So for the rest of the race, Buddy was battling power issues as well, which was not helping. So this race had really just come a test session. So he decided he could afford to pit for the soft tyre in case there was any late safety cars. Obviously he'd be lapped, but in case the rest of the field got lapped, and we'd have a late safety car. So he could afford to take this risk, as it could benefit him. So he heads into the pits for a set of the Super Soft. It's worth taking this risk because it was the only way he was really going to be able to get points. So he exits the pits, and it also saves him time, which he'd lose anyway through having to move over for faster cars. But on lap 48, disaster struck.
buddy, are you okay?
Think so. The steering column broke, couldn't do anything. Buddy was shaken, but unharmed. For Buddy knows very well of the dangers of the sport he's in. 7 years ago, in a Skip Barber test session at Jacksonville, he had a terrible crash. He almost died and was in a coma for a week. He couldn't race for the rest of that year. He knows very well he risks his life every time he takes to the track. So, as you can see, it was a victory for Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes. Obviously a very bad day for Buddy Simpson, having a massive crash which caused the race to finish under the safety car. But a 1-2 for Mercedes, which really isn't a surprise. As you can see, the top three celebrate on the podium. Actually, Vettel finished in second. Just looking at the cutscenes, it looked like the Mercedes had finished 1 and 2. As you can see, the champagne is sprayed on the Sochi podium. So, as you can see, it's cheers all round on the podium. And looking at the race result, Romain Grosjean took 5th in what was a crazy race. So he got points for the Haas team. Unfortunately, that means we are now behind Grosjean. 3 retirements, us, Massa and Ricciardo. So now taking a look at the drivers' standings, as you can see, it's Rosberg that leads from Vettel, Hamilton, Verstappen, Raikkonen. And you can see Romain Grosjean has moved up into 11th, level with Daniel Ricciardo, who's had a terrible start to all those retirements he has had, whilst Buddy Simpson has dropped to 13th, level with Carlos Sainz, who has finally gotten off the mark in this race. So now looking at the constructor standings, Mercedes lead for Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull, Force India and Toro Rosso, and Haas are in 7th at the moment, ahead of McLaren, whilst 3 teams are still yet to score. Anyway, that is it from the Sochi episode of the Buddy Simpson career mode, and we'll see you next time for the Spanish episode of the Buddy Simpson career mode, as he proved as Simpson does belong in Formula 1.